Before we begin, a friendly reminder for our premium subscribers. 那所有的订阅者的会员们呢，我们6月会推出一个 live and a free lesson for our subscribers. 那记得去收一下你的信件 ，fill out the survey， 还有告诉我们你希望在这个课程当中能够看到什么、听到什么。We cannot wait to see you in our live lessons. 上个单元我们讲到了 A.R.E.A. area， 也就是 impromptu Q&A 的回答方式。那这周就让我们延续这个话题，让我们来教大家如何重组对方的问题，来帮助我们回答。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This is part 2 of our discussion on the A.R.E.A. framework for answering impromptu Q&A. In the previous episode, we covered the importance of acknowledging an emotion to start it off and wrapping up your impromptu answer by creating a sense of collaboration and asking your question asker to contribute or offer their experience and expertise. For today's episode, we're going to get in deep to those middle 2 pieces, reframing the question to get down to the essence of what someone's asking and explaining your answer based on that frame.
So to really remind everyone, 当然我们在这样子的 Q&A session 的时候啊，我们都很希望能够让现场的气氛是非常和平的 very peaceful， 也如果有任何的这种敌意 hostility 来发生的话，我们要怎么样能够让这些气氛能够从比较负面的到比较正面的，当然这也是为什么我们想要来教大家这个 A.R.E.A. 像这样子的 formula。 那在 R 的部分，也就是 reframe 的部分呢，它就是非常重要啦。你要怎么样把一些比较有 negative 的这样子的问题，把它转成是比较正面的，而且是你想要回答的问题。那我们这个地方呢，也可以顺便利用我们在第57单元里面有提到的一些句型。那在57集的时候，我们是提到的这些句型是为什么呢？是让你能够买一些时间 buy yourself more time。因为有的时候你在回答问题，你必须要思考一下嘛，但是你站在台上，你又不能说完全就请大家一直在等你思考，所以我们都可能会有一些句型能够帮助我们讲出来之后呢，我们能够来重新思考这个问题。那这些句型其实在这个部分 reframe 跟 rephrase 的部分也是非常的好利用。 So what I meant was phrases such as I see, so what you're asking is...Or you can say, if I understand you correctly, you want to know, or, okay, just let me reframe your question so everyone can understand it.
As Sherry said, that 2-piece part where A, I'm buying myself more time, and then B, reframing things into my own context. The reason that you're buying yourself more time is because you need that time to kind of unpack what is the real essence of someone's statement or someone's question. Let's rehash what we heard in our last episode. If someone goes, I think your pricing sucks.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to go and be like, so what you're asking is, why does my pricing suck so much? Right?
That's a repeat.
Yeah, that's just a repeat. And yeah, it may buy you time, but you're doubling down on that emotion. What you're looking for is, again, what is the essence of why they did that? If we acknowledge the emotion that they're very passionate about this or they're concerned about it, what are they concerned about? They're concerned about pricing. Now, I cannot just answer the question of why my pricing sucks. So how do I reframe it? In this case, I would reframe that as, so if I understand you correctly, you want to know more about our pricing strategy, or you want to know more about why we price things a certain way, right? So the essence of your pricing sucks is not the sucks. It's actually what is the strategy or what is the thought process behind pricing.
Absolutely. 如果我们只是照平常回答问题的方式，我们可能会讲说 Well, our pricing doesn't suck. What are you talking about?
Yeah, our pricing's awesome.
所以当然你重组之后呢，你问他 Okay, so what you're trying to ask is what our pricing strategy is. 那这个就是你能够回答问题，而且是你想要回答的问题。所以这个是一个蛮巧妙的一个方式，能够来让你自己 again 你把你自己的主权拿回 you know again 你是来控制场面的人 you can take control, you're the one that control the whole entire atmosphere and situation, and you could just reframe that question to the way you want it.
What you will find is that most often when someone goes into a Q&A, the essence of what they're going to be asking is going to be around your thought process of getting to something or your strategy of getting to something. So that's a little tip and trick where if you reframe or where you paraphrase, you'll probably get into that. So let's say someone goes like, why are you trying to sell to these customers? Or I don't understand why you chose to start in Asia, even though the biggest market is in America. The essence of these go back to is, why did you make that decision, or how did you come to that decision? What's your strategy to get there?
So the thought process 跟 strategy 这两个部分呢，其实是大部分人会来质问的部分。So actually it makes you sound really professional and smart. Let's just say that. Sounds really smart if you just point that question towards the strategy.
So it's back to those key phrases. See, is like, so what you're asking is, what's our customer acquisition strategy? Or let me just repeat your question so that everyone can understand it. You want to better understand why we have chosen this target user. Rephrasing, I'm getting to the essence, but it's back to, I can answer strategy. I can answer our thought process behind that, which wraps us into part 3 of explain. It's not explain a very broad answer to what you've asked. I have reframed it down to this piece, my strategy or my thought process. Now I can answer.
所以接下来呢，你就来解释了，你真的来回答这个问题，而且你回答的问题是你刚刚 reframe 过的问题 right? 所以很简单的你就可以讲 Our strategy to this pricing is blah, blah, blah. Or the reason why we decided to cater to this market is because so on. Yeah. 所以你不会去回答 Our pricing strategy doesn't suck or we know what we're doing, right? 你的回答不是那样子，不是那个 defensive 的回答，而是你可以照着你 reframe 之后的这个问题来做回答。
And as part of that explain, you can also buy yourself more time by just bullet pointing it out. Now, when you talk about strategy, that's very broad. It's a very big topic, and you probably don't have enough time to get deep into it. But if you go, our strategy for pricing comes down to 2 pieces. Who our average customer is and what is their spending power in a month. If I bullet point those 2 things, even though there may be 20 other factors, I can quickly answer that. And you will see very quickly how this framework makes me sound put together. It makes me sound, as Sherry said, smart, even though I may just be coming up with these all at the end. And when I've gone into explanation and go, our strategy is based on these 2 things. When I get to part 4 and ask for advice, now I have a framework for their experience or advice to fit in. I'm not like, please explain every pricing strategy decision that you've ever made. But if you're like, our strategy comes down to customer acquisition cost and the location that we can find them. And then you do your explanation and you get to part 4, ask for advice. In your case, how often have you built your pricing strategy based on the acquisition cost of getting a new customer?
当你在已经做了你的这个回答之后，当然你的回答的架构也很重要。刚刚 Nick 有讲了，你可以有 1、2、3，你有 bullet point， 你的这个架构很明显的出来。Again, structure will set you free. Structure is so important. 当对方听到你的思绪是很有架构的，是非常清楚的，他对你的印象是完全加分，他就会很容易的能够去相信你的这个专业度。那当你已经有个架构出来了，你也可以非常有效的能够请对方再加给他的 advice, right? Asking for their advice. So again, I think having that structure, and I think we talked about this in the sharing session in Premium as well. Right?
Yeah, in Premium, Andrew gives a great example of how someone asked a question to a senior person in an organization, and he didn't outright go, the answer was this. Actually, you could tell he was thinking, but because he bullet point framed me, he was like, well, there are 3 things that are pretty critical to our strategy. A, B, C. And then he explained A. You could tell that he's thinking while he's giving this answer, but because he structured it as A, B, C, he bought himself time to think about how he wants to answer these and then get to his conclusion.
所以了，按照这个 A.R.E.A 的做法，其实大家都不用害怕这样子 impromptu Q&A session or anything impromptu really。我觉得其实大家有一个很好的心态，能够进去像这样子的一个 situation， 而你知道该如何很巧妙的把一个问题把它 reframe 成你想要回答的问题的话， I think there's really nothing to be afraid of.
And this is definitely connected back to that mindset we talked about in the first episode, which is you shouldn't look at impromptu as that scary thing that you only do because you have to do it. If you take the opportunity to do impromptu speech more often, and again, you follow a very simple framework, you will find that people will be in awe of how put together you are and through practice. So it will become from the something you dread to something that becomes your expertise. And actually, people who are very good at impromptu speech have a tendency to look more impressive than someone who has a very well-prepared presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's something that you can use. Like, again, you may be meeting a new client, or even if you're new to a company, if you can very quickly get to the essence of a Q&A or an impromptu speech, you may really impress people who think, oh, this person just came. How do they know so much?
很希望大家能够好好的利用我们今天所教大家的 A.R.E.A， 也希望大家能够到我们的 Premium 的课程当中了解更多不同做简报的一些架构，而且很好记，非常清楚的架构。So really hope you guys enjoyed the class and enjoyed our podcast today.
Join us next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.